I'm big on risk. However, he'll remind me what the risks are. Right. So that's kind of what helps us as a team is a lot of things that we have right now wouldn't have happened, or we wouldn't have it if it wasn't because I said, let's do it. And he would tell me kind of like, well, how are we going to do it? I'm like, dude, I don't know. We're just going to have to do it. Let's do it. But we also have a lot of things because we waited because he said, hey, I don't think we should do that yet. Right, let's wait on this. And I listened to him. Okay, let's do that. So that's what really it's done a good team. Well, but yeah, mindset is a huge thing. It's a huge thing.
To add on what he was saying, I'm, you could say, the tactician of the two.
You look like a sniper. Quick scoping ass.
Yeah, no, I used to do that back in the day. COD, all that stuff. Anyways, but yeah, no, I think about it as the whole picture, and obviously what we're doing in the moment. I like to think of the best way of doing that. Because there's many ways to go about life. There's many ways to run a business. There's many ways of making money and being successful based on what you're trying to do. But not all the ways are the quickest or the most reliable or the easiest to do. And, sometimes the easiest thing isn't always the best thing. But sometimes you don't have to do the hard thing if there's an easier way of going about stuff.
Exactly.
So, so speaking about that type of thing, what would you say has been some failures or certain setbacks that have helped you learn to become better as an individual and as a business individual?
Man, I would say one of my setbacks honestly would be not great financial planning. I've always been making money, but like sometimes, I would throw an event and whatnot. If I weren't to budget correctly, or if I were to not be as strategic as I could have been, I could have saved myself a lot of money. Even things like starting business credit a little bit earlier, things like that of that nature. I'm glad I got the hang of it now because, like I said, I just turned 22. So, like, for most people, I'm very blessed in my position because not to say I'm ahead of most people, but I'm applying more things.
Some people reach that at 30.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing more with the time you have, and you're taking advantage of the time you have right now. Like,
but it's good that you're being honest about it. A lot of people are not. Right. You ask a lot of people, hey, what is something that you're doing wrong, and it's it's holding you back or whatever, and a lot of people will be like, oh man, I don't know, let me think, and they do know.
Everyone knows, exactly. Man. And honestly, just to add on to that is caring about what people think, not being in the moment as much. That's another thing I've had to work on. Even my self-confidence myself, like even me, like even sometimes I'd have an insecurity or I doubt myself, or as lit as I am, things like that would happen. And like looking at me, a lot of people, they can't believe that, but that's just honestly the truth. Yeah. I would say another thing would be honestly sometimes caring about what family thinks too much. They can be family, but your path, may not be my path.
Exactly.
So there's things like that of that nature. And especially, I would say that caring about what people think is honestly the hardest because as humans, we naturally want people to like us. So the crazy part that kind of helped me is just kind of doing what I liked and just kind of let everything follow. So that's what's kind of really helped me. And I want to say there's something else to add on to that. Oh, I'd say another thing that will really, really help you is I don't want to say appreciating death, but kind of realizing that you will die. And if you look at it this way, just realize that every single day you're dying. So you have to do what you really want to do, or if not, you're going to die anyway, which is kind of underappreciated. But I went to a funeral and my cousin, they let him wear one of my suits for the funeral. And I was looking at him in my suit and I was like, wow, that could really be me right now. And I'm like, I know a lot of these people, are crying and they don't care. But I'm like, what about all those people that you came across in your lifetime who really don't care and you care about what they thought? Yep. So I kind of realized that if you get comfortable with death, that's when you'll truly, really get to live.
Yeah. Well, I mean, time is the commodity that you're never going to get back. It's not infinite. Your life is a little sand in the beach of the life in general. And so, whenever you realize that your life is so short, you tend to take things more seriously. You actually make what you do matter, and you take the people around you seriously, because at the end of the day, what you've said to somebody or what you've done to somebody or how you've acted around certain people, that can change their life or other people's lives, and you have no idea the magnitude of that.
It becomes what legacy are you leaving? What are you leaving to those who...
Your imprint on this world is either going to be small, nothing, or something.
That's true.
Yep, as well, yep. For sure. Well, I will say something, though, going back to, for example, me, I have a hard time falling asleep just because my mind is always thinking on new ideas and whatever. And ever since I was young.
Not to cut you off, but you need my ashwagandha. It's really, really strong. Me and Chris made it. It's FDA
they got
approved.
gnarly looking branding on their stuff.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
actually pretty entertaining, but supposedly it works. So we're gonna have that in the description as well.
Okay,
You know
good.
what
I'm
I'm
gonna give you
saying?
a discount code.
So for me, it was like, my dad is kind of the same way when it comes to that. And at first, when I was younger, it was always like, oh, I want to fall asleep faster. So whatever, I didn't. And now I notice that it's really it's not about what is setting you back, but what are you allowing to set you back? If you look at something and you look at it as a negative thing, then that's what it's going to be. But if you have something about yourself that you thought was negative, but you notice it's actually a positive thing, then use it as a positive. You see? So for example, he may fall asleep quicker because maybe, he's not really thinking about a million things. He's focused. Okay, let me go to sleep. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up. I'm going to think about those things tomorrow. I'm not like that. I'm thinking about the 3 companies that I got and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I got to get this done. And then I started thinking, I'm like, wait, why don't I use that to my own advantage? So if I'm already thinking about these ideas, this is where I'm getting my ideas.
Might as well maximize.
Might as well use it. So I started writing all these ideas down at 1 a.m, whatever time these things started coming up. And I started noticing as soon as I was done writing these things down, or as soon as I was done taking my own notes, you could say, I could fall asleep so much quicker. Because whatever was up here, it was only up here and it was only a problem because it was only up here. The moment it got into paper, in other words, checklist, right? I got that done. I got this done. I'm only going to have to do this tomorrow. I don't have to worry about this till next time. I started using that to my own advantage as a blessing, you could say, that's when I start getting my ideas.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
And so it's really all about as well, like, what are you letting be a negative thing in your life? Like, what are you letting set you back? If you can only let something set you back. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was watching a video about this guy, and I'm horrible with names, so I don't remember his name, but he's got no arms and no legs.
Right.
Nothing. Right. And so he was saying, he's like, if I looked at what I'm missing, I wouldn't be able to see what I have.
Wow. Man.
Deep. Temptations.
Oh, my temptation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No. Anybody, everybody on this panel right here. So temptations, guys. So everybody has temptations for something. Everybody has something, that little kink in the armor that.
Oh man, here we go.
That's gonna you're more drawn to something that you're kind of weak towards.
Right.
Some people it's alcohol, some people it's women. Some people it's money. Some people, it can be anything. But bad habits, or temptations in general. What would you say are, if you want to share, what would you say are some good? Being honest here, because at the end of the day, being genuine is a lot better than.
Yeah, don't worry, I can always cut it off.
No, that's all good. So, okay, honestly, I bet y'all a lot of y'all were expecting me to say girls.
No, I don't think so.
But I'm actually really focused. Like,
yeah, Bryce is unexpectedly focused because he could easily pull your woman, your mom, everybody. You know what I'm saying?
He said it, not me. But honestly, that's very true. Like, honestly, when it comes to, like, girls' relationships, I have been in them, but like, it's very hard for, like, sometimes girls to try to get that out of me just because, like, I know the overall end result.
Exactly.
And I've seen, like, a lot of people not love themselves enough, and I've seen, like, a lot of guys, they get caught up in the booty, the
wasting
BBLs,
time. You know what I'm saying?
getting
Wasting
caught up
time,
in the
making
girls,
bad decisions.
and then guess what? She's looking at a dude like us who's focused on her.
Exactly.
Exactly.
'Cause
If you don't build yourself up, somebody else will.
Look,
Right.
why would a woman? Because they, at the end of the day, they dictate the sexual marketplace, and so why would they choose? If there was between two guys, one's more successful, driven, and has his shit together, and then the other is a deadbeat, working 9 to 5, which there's nothing wrong with working 9 to 5 if that's what you want to do, but if you don't have plans, you don't have dreams, then she's always I'd say 100% of the time, but you can't say that these days. So they're gonna choose the one that's more driven and more successful. So
and I've seen that. And I think, like, even a lot of people think that. Fuck, we're talking about relationships now. I think a lot of people think that you got to be rich, or you got to be tall, you got to be handsome, which is really not the case. But at least have something you're passionate about. And I mean, people always see that passion, and people are always attracted to it. But when it comes back to temptations, actually, my biggest and worst temptation is candy.
candy.
I've had hella cavities to get
Candy
worked on.
boy.
Like, my teeth are good now, obviously,
Okay.
but like candy and stuff like that.
Really?
Like, you
So
can talk.
sweets.
You can talk to Schmidt, like the VP of Hoodiegang. He'll tell you, like,
Yeah, Schmidt.
I'm addicted
We're
to
gonna
candy.
have him on here sometime. It's gonna be funny because me and him go way back too. I knew him back before he was it. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, man. But yeah, honestly, that social media and staying focused, because sometimes my phone can blow up so much that I'll get to scrolling, and I'm like, the hell, it's been 30 minutes. It's been an hour.
It'd be like that.
And I'm like, holy. I'm like, the platform has used me when the platform is made for me to use it.
Exactly.
So just things like that. Sometimes not being disciplined enough. Sometimes I may stay out a little bit too late, or I may do something I know I was supposed to have done but just procrastinated. So just things like that. Just sticking to that routine. But then obviously I've also known this, like a lot of really, really successful people, they'll always smell the roses. So for instance, they'll go out and they'll have a lot of fun, and you're like, dang, they're rich. How they doing this? Also notice that if you do like work,
Daddy's gotta go to work.
and you don't have that balance of having fun and actually enjoying it, it never really works out. I think another person really watches like Drake, because if you look at Drake, he's always fun. He's always having, and dude's a billionaire. Dude's always having a
set. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I think a lot of people don't realize that even like the small thing, because like us as businessmen, if you work all the time, but if you don't go out, you don't travel, you don't see new things, if you pay attention to your social skills, they'll kind of dull. They'll be dull a little bit. Like
you'll start to burn out. You're going to start to burn out. You're sowing and you're not reaping the results.
Look, you know how many people I've talked to who say, I just don't have the time. Yes, you do. You're not making the time. For example, for me, Sundays, you can't touch my Sundays.
Right.
You can't. I literally, no. And Saturdays is for me, my family, my girl, whatever.
Right.
You can't touch my Saturdays. I've spoken with clients of mine who are like, hey, I need this done and blah, blah, blah. It's already Friday. Are you going to be there tomorrow? No. Well, are you sure? I got, nope. Well, other contractors usually work on Saturdays. I don't work on Saturdays.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Sorry, go with someone else. Really, you know why? Because you start it one time and it becomes a chain reaction. You start it one time, you work on Saturday. Yeah, it's just one time, dude. It doesn't matter. It's one time. Well, whatever. You're going to say no to your family one time. But then that nice, sweet 10K comes in and you're like, well, that's just another Saturday. Exactly. And then it happens again. And then money becomes, and usually it can be money, it can be whatever, but it starts with one. People don't realize that. A lot of business owners out there, y'all, you don't realize it starts with one. It really does. And I've noticed that, even for me, I've noticed, I remember it was one Saturday where we were supposed to go out to the beach or whatever, I don't know. And but I do remember saying, hey, I told the client they needed something done. And I said, I'm just going to work Saturday morning. That's it. I'm just going to work Saturday morning. That turned from one Saturday to another Saturday to another Saturday. So next thing you know, I was getting done 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. What are you going to do at 4 o'clock with your family? Right. Beach is already too late unless you're going to go see the sunset or something, or you're going to go out to a restaurant or whatever. Right. So now most of your day went by. Right? And so I started noticing, okay, I once I noticed it, I said, I got to cut back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I made it to where I said, and I woke up, man, and it hurts because it's funny, you don't notice it. And then when you got to kind of come back to it. So I had one of the clients who said, hey, but you worked last Saturday when I started to, back off from it. Well, you worked last Saturday. I said, I'm sorry. I just can't work this Saturday. I got family. You know what I mean? I'm like, sorry, can't do it. Right. And it's that feeling inside where you're like, man, I could have, but if I do it, I can get it done, and then we can get paid quicker.
And honestly, man, and then I notice a lot of people, like a lot of guys, you see this a lot in the entertainment industry. They'll start doing things like that, but then the relationships start stressing them out. Kids start stressing them out. Then that falls back into their craft, and like there's so many people who are like famous or well known or very successful who fell off, and you hear child support. You'll hear all these things that stemmed from like one thing, just like you said, or just like family issues or not having time for themselves. Just like you said, just by not putting themselves first. Yep,
I would say, and that really ties into a lot of things. Right. I think it really ties into procrastinating. I mean, you do it once, it starts, and really anything that you let become a habit will become a habit. Bad habit. If you make it into a good habit, then it's a good habit. And, you can never be perfect. So you're always going to have something that you're dealing with. Right. But again, if you have something that becomes a habit, a bad habit, sadly, a lot of times we don't notice it till it's already become a habit. Right.
Well, speaking on habits, your habits, your current habits, where you are right now in life, you're where you are right now because of the habits you did 3 to 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right now, you can change your future if you start acting now. And that's goes back into the thing we were talking about earlier, like wanting to get somewhere but not knowing how to get there.
Right.
That's how you get there. You employ the best habits that you can make and that are going to be the best for you, because some habits are better for others and some are not.
Right.
And so, habits are like the key to everything, I think.
No, most definitely, man.
Yeah.
Right.
So when it comes to, I'd say, education. Education is probably one of those things that most people don't understand when it comes to business or self-improvement or anything like that.
Right.
Because, we were all taught in school how to do certain things.
Right.
And there's so many different ways of educating yourself nowadays, whether it be events or YouTube or mentors or anything like that.
Oh, I gotta talk my shit on this, honestly, because I'm a college dropout and honestly from school.
Yeah, fuck school, bro.
Dude,
Fuck school, bro.
dude, I went.
Listen,
so
I'm gonna have so much fun editing
man,
this.
I literally.
No, we ain't editing it, bro.
Man, keeping it
He's like,
raw.
no, we ain't editing this.
So let me tell you something, man.
Straight
I literally
raw.
Went to, I went to high school, graduated like a 30 on my ACT. Track athlete. He knows me. I had good grades as a great athlete. I went to a private school. That private school was on some bullshit. That's how but
He was a sheltered child, guys.
bruh, I was. And actually the crazy part, if I never would have went to that school, I never would have started the Hoodiegang, because I kind of started on accident by throwing events and whatnot. And it was so funny when we were at the college, they tried to like call the cops on us and get us investigated.